Welcome to CG Dive. Today we'll be talking about Plask.ai. This is a new free tool that allows you to create mocap data from simple video footage. And that's right, it's a completely free online service. There are other apps that can extract motion from video, but they are either paid or they're very difficult to use. So I'll show you how the mocap extraction works in Plask. It's very simple. And we'll also explore a workflow between Plask and Blender. I'll also talk about the current limitations of the software. Since it's a new tool, it has some quirks, and I hope to save you a lot of time by showing you what works and what doesn't. So let's do a quick start guide. To use the service, you have to go to Plask.ai and you have to create your account. So you have to press on sign up, and once you've created your account, you can sign in. When you're signed in, you'll see the Get Started button, so just click on it, and that will take you to the app. And it will take a moment for Plask to load some of its default content, and then the app is ready to use. So to display a character in the 3D view, you can just drag and drop it into the view, or you can right-click and choose visualization. Navigation, you can orbit around using Alt and left mouse button. You can pan the view using Alt and right mouse button, and you can zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. And then technically you can select joints, and with the standard shortcuts W, E, R, you can switch between move, rotate, and scale. And you can manipulate these joints and pause the character, and you can even record keyframes, but I'm not going to do that, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So I'll use the mannequin. And with that, we are ready to have some fun. So let's try the AI Mocap features. So there are two ways to upload the video. You can press the plus sign over here and navigate to a folder where we have some footage. Or you can simply drag and drop footage into the library section. Either way, you'll get this message. So click confirm. Plask will quickly process the video. And from here, the process is almost automatic. You can play the footage to see what you have. And the other important thing that you can do is to specify the beginning and the end of the action you want to extract. Just drag the beginning and the end like this. And when you're happy with your selection, just click on Extract Motion. Give your motion a name and press OK. And then you'll have to wait while Plask processes the motion. Obviously, the longer the motion, the longer it will take. While Plask is doing its thing, let me mention the new CG Dive membership program. If you like what I do, this is a way to support the channel and get early access to my videos. There will be a 50% discount for a very short time, and I'll talk about it some more at the end of the video. Now back to Plask. When it's done, you'll be back to the initial interface and the extracted motion will be in your library. So if I just drag and drop the dance action onto the mannequin, the action will be applied. If you want to use the action on another character, just drag and drop it and it will actually appear in the viewport. And then if I want to switch back to the mannequin, I can expand the actions that it has and right click on the dance, and I'll choose visualization. I can edit the end keyframe because this action is longer than 100 frames. So here is what I have. The quality of the motion will depend on many factors. I'll list some of the most important ones on the screen now. And I'm not extremely experienced with AI Mocap, but I did give some of the other tools a try. And I think Plask is producing similar, if not superior results to paid tools. And it does it for free. The result is not perfect for sure, but that is to be expected from AI Mocap. And we'll do some quick and dirty cleanup later in the video. So this is probably the main thing that you'll be doing with Plask. Import some video footage and turn it into mocap data. The app actually has more features. It even has animation layers down here, and they seem to work. I can add another one, for example. And I can edit the action, I can insert keyframes, but overall, the animation features and controls you get are pretty limited, at this point at least. So I am unlikely to use them. You cannot add IK, for example. You can kind of manipulate the joints, but there is no undo function. So it looks like it's a work in progress, and that is fine. The app is very new, and even if they never develop these features, it's fine with me. Other things that you may notice in the interface is over here you can disable the bone display, you can disable the gizmos. Over here you have the transforms. There's retargeting, which I'll explore in more detail later in the video. Here we have a simple timeline. We can play the action, we can play it in reverse, stop it. This button will actually start your camera and you can record yourself and turn this recording into AI Mocap. Something else to keep in mind is that you can only have one character in the viewport in the current state of the app. So if I use the zombie, the mannequin will be gone. If I bring back the mannequin, the zombie will be gone. So don't expect to animate complex scenes inside Plask. And also it is very important to know that Plask won't save your files. So if I just reload this page, this dance action that I extracted will be gone. So I won't reload the app, but keep that in mind. Once you have some mocap data, you'll probably want to export it out of Plask to another 3D app, to a game engine, or whatever you like. And you can export freely using FBX, GLTF, and even BVH. For Blender, which I'll be using in this video, I tested FBX and GLTF, and they both were kind of fine. GLTF may actually have some advantages, but I'll stick to FBX here. So to make things a little bit more interesting, I'll just extract one more action and then we'll get to exporting. I'll do it really quickly. And here's my new kick action. To export the character and animations, you can right-click on the character, choose Export, select the motion and the file format that you like, and click Export. So then I'm going to export the dance action as well. And I'm also going to export the bind pose. The bind pose is the T-pose basically, and you may need it depending on your software. For Blender, we're going to need it and I'll show you why later in the video. The files will have this simple naming, so I may want to rename them. So now you can proceed to import these files into your favorite 3D application. I'll be showing you how to do that in Blender. Here I am in Blender 3.01, and I'm going to import an FBX. And now if I import one of the actions with the default settings, you'll see that it works, except that all bones are kind of weirdly oriented, which is a common problem when importing FBX files in Blender. There are reasons to keep this weird orientation of the bones, especially when you want to keep compatibility with other software. But here I want properly oriented bones. So I'm going to delete this and import again. And this time I'll go to armature and choose automatic bone orientation and import the FBX. So now we have the same action, but my bones are better oriented. Okay, so I can import the dance action the same way. And if having this character in Blender with these animations is all you want, then you're all set. But if you're going to be doing other things down the line, then you need to be aware of a certain problem that we have. If I select one of the armatures and switch to rest pose, you'll see that we have this rest pose that is not a T-pose. Same for the other armature. And that is why I exported the bind pose. So I'm going to import it as well. And here we have the character in T-pose. And its rest position is also this T-pose. If it wasn't, then you could go to pose mode and press Ctrl A and apply pose as rest pose. Okay, so now we want to transfer the animations to the rig that has a T-pose as a rest pose. So here I can delete these meshes. I only need the armatures. And what I could do is I'll also hide this mesh. And let's rename stuff. So to transfer these animations, we could do the following. Go to the T-pose rig and then to pose mode and add copy transforms constraints to each of the bones and constrain them to the respective bone of the armature that we want to copy. So in this case, this upper leg will go to the, let's say, kick, and the same bone in the kick animation. And we have to do this for each bone, which will be a little bit tedious. So I'm going to undo, and we have an add-on called Retarget Helper. I'm going to share a link to the add-on. It's free, although donations are highly appreciated. And when you have the add-on, you'll be able to do this type of constraining automatically with just one click. And so here is Retarget Helper, and I don't yet have this function in it. I have it in our other add-on, Game Rig Tools. So you can use that as well. And by the time the video is out, it will be in Retarget Helper as well. So I'll be demonstrating here with Game Rig Tools. So what I need to do is select my animated armature and then shift select the T armature so that it is active. And then I'll use the constraint to armature name function. And with these default settings, it's going to work just fine. Just press OK. And now you see that our T-pose rig is copying the movement of the other action. So now in pose mode, I'm going to select all of the bones of the T-pose rig and go to pose animation bake action. And let me check how many frames I need to bake. Okay, back to the T-pose rig, select all bones, pose animation, bake action, and bake with visual keying. You can also clear the constraints. We won't need them once the action is baked. And then press OK. And now the constraints are gone, but if I play the action, this rig is playing the exact same action. And I can also go to rest position, and it's going to be a T-pose. So now I can get rid of this kick armature that I have. And here I could rename my action to kick. Okay, and then I'll do the same one more time. I'll select the dance armature, then shift select the T-pose rig, bring it back into pose position, use the constraint to armature name, and maybe I'll bring the dance rig in the center of the world by pressing Alt G. And now back to the T-pose rig, I can go to pose mode, select all of the bones, and then again I'll bake the action and make sure that override current action is not checked so that it creates a new action for you. And again, the constraints are gone, but the action is baked. I can now get rid of this dance armature, and let's rename this action to dance. So this is how you can transfer these animations to a rig with a proper rest pose. And that will allow you to do a lot of stuff like retargeting, for example. So now I'm creating a new window set to dope sheet action editor so that I can easily switch my actions. So here, if I play the kick action, you see that there are a lot of jerky movements, especially in the arms, actually all over the rig. So in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to show you some quick and dirty tricks to improve this action a little bit. They may not even be best practices, but I want to give you something quick and dirty so that you can improve these actions at least a little bit. So if I play this action one more time, notice the jerkiness. And now if I change this to graph editor and go to pose mode, select all of the bones, and go to key smooth keys. Just pressing it once or maybe twice is enough. And let's play the action again. And you'll notice that there is a huge difference. The action is much smoother now. There are no jerks in the movement. And one more technique that should be considered a hack. If you can, you should be using better techniques, which I'll introduce in future videos. But this hack may help you make your action a little bit more grounded quickly and easily. So I'll go to object mode and create a new empty, for example. And then I'll go back to my rig, pose mode, and select the hips bone, which is the topmost bone. Go to bone constraints, add a child of constraint, and the target will be the empty. Okay, now if I move the empty, the whole rig will move with it. So now I'll enable auto keying, and I'll try to improve the overall positioning of the character. So for example, he's not on the ground. Let's create a ground plane actually. Bring the character on the ground with the empty, and then move forward. So here I can see that the character is singing through the ground. So here I'll record a keyframe, a location keyframe, and then move forward and move it above the ground. Here the AI Mocap did not record any forward movement, so I may want to move the character forward, and then he may keep going forward for a while. And also bring him to the ground. Now up a bit. Okay, so now if we play the animation, we may notice additional problems. Between these frames, the foot should actually stay in the middle of the world, so let's move it forward. So something like this. You can keep trying to tweak it if you want. And once you're done, you can again bring this action fully to the bones, because now part of this action is based on a constraint. So go to the rig, pose mode, select all bones, pose, animation, bake animation. And I'm going to bake with these actions. And in this case, I want to override my current action. So I'll tick this and press OK. And now I can get rid of this empty. And this new animation that I edited will be baked on the bones. Okay, and here I have brought my Plask motion into a new scene where I have another character. And I just want to quickly show you that you can easily retarget these motions. I won't go into detail about the retargeting process because I have very beginner-friendly guides for that, for tools like Rokoko or AutoRig Pro. So here I have set up my Rokoko add-on for retargeting. And if I move the armature in the center position and retarget, I'll have this motion retargeted on my character. And I could retarget the dance as well. So I hope this gives you an idea of the full workflow that you can have with Plask and Blender. You can create your mocap in Plask, export it to Blender, and then retarget it to any character that you may have. And at the end, I also want to cover the workflow from Blender to Plask. So let's say that you have a character in Blender and you want to bring it into Plask and apply mocap data to it directly. Plask can import FBX. However, if we just export this character with the standard FBX settings from Blender, it is not going to work really. Now, I'm going to demonstrate really quickly. I'll select my characters and go to File, Export, FBX. And let's name this Blender to Plask 01. And I'll export with the default settings. Now again, I can drag and drop this FBX into Plask. And it will take a moment. There's this warning, which we'll talk about later. But the file seems to have been imported. So I'll drag it into the scene and you'll see these huge spheres. And after testing, I realized that these are the joints and I'm not sure why they're so huge. I asked the developers of Plask and they told me to name my root node armature. So in Blender, The root node is the object, so if you name the object armature, it should work. And I can try it again. But I'll get the exact same result. So I found two workarounds. I'll go back to Blender, and one of them is to use the Better FBX add-on for Blender, which is a paid add-on. I'll give you a link to it, but don't worry, we also have a solution that doesn't require an add-on. So now if I go to export Better FBX, I could export another FBX file using the Better FBX exporter. And let's try this. And it works. Okay, and the other solution, I'll take my rig, and in the end panel, I'll scale all X, Y, and Z values 100 times. So 100 times bigger. And then I'll also apply the scale. And then I'll export with normal FBX. Go to Plask, import that. Bring it into the scene, and the character will be huge, but if I select this root node here and scale it to 0.01 on XYZ, I'll have a character that I can work with. Okay, now to complete this workflow, we have to go to the retargeting section and make sure that all of these dots are matched correctly. So the process is simple. Blue means that there is a match, but you cannot be sure that it is correct. There are naming conventions that you can use to make the process somewhat automatic. I'll show what they look like on screen now, but now we'll have to do this manually. And it's very simple. You just click on one of the dots, and then you find the corresponding joint in the 3D view, select it, and click Assign. And here this one is assigned correctly, so all is fine. So I'll go to the next one, and this one is not assigned correctly. So I'll select this joint and click Assign, and confirm that I want to change. So I'll keep doing this. And so I'm almost done. As you can see, it is kind of time consuming, but it is not difficult. So now I have to match this bone here. And I could match it to this joint, but I just want to let you know that you can also set the target to none and assign that. Because in one case, when I was testing things, a match for this point wasn't available. And so in these cases, you have to specifically choose the non-target and then click Assign. Okay, once all of these dots have become blue, Plask will indicate that the mapping is complete. And now I could create another mocap. And apply it to my character. And it worked. Something that bothers me a little bit is that the character is offset quite a bit. If I apply the same action to the mannequin, for example, now it's also offset in a different way, so I guess that's normal. But yeah, that's the workflow, and I hope it's useful. Earlier in the video, I mentioned CG Dive's new subscription program. Check it out because you'll get some perks if you decide to join. It's similar to Patreon, but it offers a better experience in my opinion. You'll be able to find and watch my videos easily. It also offers video streaming. On YouTube, I'll be keeping a once per week upload schedule, but members will be able to watch or download my videos as soon as they're done and without any ads. You'll also get any scene files and resources that I may have, and even some exclusive videos. I'll do my best to always have a couple of unreleased videos on there, and I'll do my best to make it worth it for you. And since I'm still setting things up, I'm offering a 50% discount in the next few days only. So check it out, like and subscribe if you feel so inclined, and I'll talk to you next time.